Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 629 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Irum Tahir. And if you want to hear our conversation about thinking big in the long game of practice, stay tuned for the full episode.
Something just called me to be like, I think I should just do this right now, not wait till July or June or whatever. Just now, today, and so I really appreciate you working with me at the time, because I see some patients still, just on an as needed basis. I kind of work with some complex pelvic issues and things like that. So I'm excited about this one.
Well, we are live. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It's 629 today with Irum Tahir. I'm really excited about this episode. We had a chance to connect at the MAC, which is the Michigan Association of Chiropractic in Traverse City. Irum was speaking in the room right before I got up and spoke, and I was like, wow, the essence of this room is quite amazing. I think that you've done something in here, and you've done something to the energy in the room, and you're like, yeah, I do that every time I talk. So really cool. If you guys want to check out her program, ignite-spark.com/courses, and the code to get in there is Chiro. You'll save some money. But before we get into this episode with Dr. Irum, I want to let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, I was just telling Dr. Irum, our mission was to create more content than anybody else has ever done on planet Earth when it comes to one topic, and that's chiropractic. And by doing so, I learned that there's a lot of issues going on in the profession that we had to address with our intro. Because I always say, if you don't listen to the whole episode, at least you listen to the first 2 minutes, you're going to get a whole lot about chiropractic you didn't know before. So we do protect freedom of speech with this show. We think it's very important. We know what it's like to be traffic throttled and shadow banned and censored. And we would never do that to anyone, including any of our guests. So we really value these stories that we produce. As we go through that, we do believe in medical freedom and family health freedom, and they're not the same things. But if you want to learn more about that, reach out to Dr. Irum, and I'm sure she can tell you a lot about family health freedom and how to support you. Or if you wanted to reach out to a chiropractor in your local area, find somebody and ask them how you can stay healthy with chiropractic services. One of my favorite chiropractors of all time is Dr. Patrick Smith. He says, "Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick. You are my patient, and I'm going to be with you, and you're going to be with me until one of us blows up." And I think it's pretty funny. But we were talking about how people don't understand lifetime care. And I think it's really important for people to know that chiropractic is good for people from womb to tomb and from cradle to grave, first breath to last breath, however you want to look at it. But we do get a bit more philosophical, then we'll get into Dr. Irum's story. We're going to talk about her mission work that she does, how she helps moms and kids, and how you can collaborate with MDs and OBs. So there's some really cool things that we're going to discuss today topically. But I'm going to finish the introduction, and then we'll get all things Dr. Irum. We do protect BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. If you don't know what that is, check out the show notes. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you previously did, I guarantee you. We support subluxation-based chiropractic. I know I shouldn't have to say that, but they're taking this out of the schools. So a lot of students listen to our show. So if you're at a chiropractic college and you need support with philosophy, reach out to any of the doctors that we interview. They're all philosophically sound, and we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. I know it kind of sounds woo-woo, but it's real. And we believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that, Dr. Irum, you're 629 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Jim.
Yeah, and I know that this is going to be a very powerful conversation today about all things chiropractic, and I'm most interested for you to like talk to people about your project, ignite-spark.com /courses. Code is Chiro if people want to join. But why did you start that project?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, to me, I felt like there was a need in the profession um, to be able to grow chiropractic and be able to reach as many people as possible, but through the practice, through being able to make sure that practices are systematized, they're automated, that they function without the owner there, right? And so many things happen in our personal lives. I mean, there could be deaths in the family, there could be divorces. I've seen that. There could be, life changes, babies born, all miscarriages. I mean, I've seen it all. And it's just like when those life moments happen that kind of sometimes will blindside you, or sometimes you have to take on additional responsibility and take time away from your practice. The practice really should be able to run by itself. It needs to be able to have the owner be sitting on top of the business and have systems in place that are automated so that the practice and patients can still be seen whether you're there or not. So to me, I felt like that was a big need in the profession because most of our practices are personality based. And mine was too. Mine was all about the Dr. Tahir show. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, I want to see Dr. Tahir, Dr. Tahir, Dr. Tahir. I just want to see her. And I don't want to see anybody else. And that's all I want to see. And it's just like, but that's not really true entrepreneurship. True entrepreneurship is allowing the product to be able to operate without you there, and the product to be given to the people that need it without you there. And so I spent the last 10 years of my life dedicating to chiropractic and focusing on refining the practice and the systems. And so I'm really grateful to have done that with my own practice. I run my practice from anywhere in the world. I've run it from Aruba, from Spain, from Africa, from the most remote places like Fiji to the biggest cities like San Francisco. But that's really because it runs without me there. And I have a fabulous team in place, but I also have wonderful systems, and that we're constantly continuing to refine those systems in the practice. And so I wanted to teach that to other providers. And I had a lot of people come to me that said, how are you doing this? Like, how are you just running this practice from anywhere without being there? And that's how Ignite the Spark was born,
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to understand that systems matter.
Mm-hmm.
And, in chiropractic, we jokingly, but seriously, we call them the golden handcuffs. And a chiropractor can't practice chiropractic unless they're attached to their table. And it's really great when people can systemize and build a business and actually be the director of a business, and as well as a practicing chiropractor.
Absolutely. And I mean, I still can, like I said to you, I was seeing patients right before this. So I still see patients. I have my licenses. I'm going to continue to practice till I die, or until I can't anymore. But how am I going to reach more people? It's not just going to be me adjusting everybody by myself. It's going to be me training other chiropractors, working with them. And some of them, I'll never live in Michigan. I'll never live in Colorado, never live in California, like never live in any of these places. But if we can see more people under chiropractic care and get more hands, adjusting people, that's what it's all about. And so that's what Ignite the Spark is. It's business development. It's helping practices get systems in place and so that they can have freedom. And whether they're still in the practice or they're not, or they eventually want to retire, want to eventually sell it, want to eventually bring on an associate, whatever the case may be, whatever stage they're in, we help them build that next level for themselves. And then ultimately be able to have freedom in practice.
So I'm really interested in the whole like branding of what you've done. How challenging is it for you to create a brand from nothing and to actually start to build a business with something like you've done with Ignite Spark?
I would say that it is a challenge, right? Like anytime you're starting any business, and this business was different because I actually pulled my business partner and husband into it. So all my other businesses that I've had before, I make all the decisions. I do everything myself. If things go well, it's on me. If things go bad, it's on me, right? But now I pulled my husband, who's been in the venture capital private equity world for the last 25, 30 years. He comes from that Fortune 500 background, and it's like he brings business principles, like actual business development. And that's combined with the chiropractic work that I've done in the systems I just talked about, makes this really powerful business. But that's, I think, being totally honest and vulnerable, I think that's the biggest challenge is like, I've always been autonomous, and now I'm like, well, what do you think about this? Or how is this going to work? Or now divvying up, responsibilities. That was challenging, especially doing that with your husband. But I mean, the amount of like direction and guidance that he brings, he's like you, he's a chiropractic warrior. Like he has given so much and actually has saved and changed so many practices. I mean, he is phenomenal at what he does, with Ignite the Spark. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, it's definitely hard anytime you start a business, you're in a saturated market, you got to kind of identify yourself. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really like valuable for people to hear that,
Hmm.
because when people upstart a chiropractic clinic or a chiropractic center, whatever they want to call them, like
Yeah.
they're creating a brand from nothing.
Yeah.
And they have to, learn how to network and how to tell their message and how to onboard clients and how to keep them under care and how to like manage their case. And I think that it's really cool that you're doing the same thing as a clinic would do, but you're doing it for the healer. And
Absolutely.
I call the project just, myself, Heal the Healer. And it's
Hmm.
like taking the healer, the chiropractor, and teaching them how to be a better functioning chiropractor to where that they can make a greater impact and be more focused and change more lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, one of the things I saw specifically too with female chiropractors is that they were getting burnt out, or some people wanted to leave the profession, or they were, they had kids. So then they didn't have these systems in place and things were kind of falling apart. So burnout happens when there's no systems. Burnout happens when you're doing everything yourself and there's no systems, right? So it's like you're just how long can an engine keep going by itself? Just like if
Mhm.
that's the only thing, right? And so primarily, like, a lot of female chiropractors would come to me and say, like, how can I get it so I have these systems in place and be able to automate things a lot easier and be able to hire on staff? That's been one big challenge for people, right? Like hiring people, leading them, guiding them. So that's another thing that we teach as well.
Business building, I love it.
Hmm.
I think that a lot of times people they don't know how to strategically find people to work,
Yeah.
and the wrong hire can set you back 6 months to a year to 2 years, whether it's an associate or office help.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think you have to be really solid on how you choose and who you choose, and I think there's a lot that goes into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, um, we're actually bringing on a new hire, and I literally did this with my team today, is, creating an intention of what it is we do want. Like we created an intention of what we wanted for this podcast before we even started it. So we're putting the energy of what we want in there, right? We're creating. So it's the same thing with, with a hire. Like what kind of person do we want? Well, we want someone that's open-minded. We want someone that's really positive, that's someone that loves chiropractic, that, is reliable, trustworthy, honest. Like, we're putting out what it is we want. So what you put out is also looking for you then, and then there's a match, right? So that's part of it, but it's also I think performance. Like you have to inspect what you expect as well. There's different things about hiring, but yeah.
And you have to be ready. Otherwise, if you're not ready, um, the universe has a law that will make it not work.
Hmm.
And I think that we have to be very clear with like how we go about who we work with and how we, get that person to join the team too. So I think having somebody like you would be invaluable for people to learn how to make good decisions and to have that type of a handhold to make sure that they have like clarity on how to do it and when to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And having that clarity, it just, bouncing something off of somebody, it's like, oh my goodness, okay, I have so much more clarity. I feel so much better. I mean, that's the value of coaching, right? That's the value of a really good coach. A coach isn't somebody who's just gone through something and it's like, oh, I made $100,000. I can teach you how to do it. No, a coaching is really specific. The way you coach one person is not how you're going to coach another person. It's based on skill and expertise and guiding that person to where they need to go.
So let's talk a little bit more granular about your systems. Who is your avatar client? Is it a woman chiropractor?
Avatar client in terms of like with my coaching, yeah. So I'd say it's
Yeah.
a female chiropractor, primarily between the age of 30 and 60, some a little bit above 60, maybe 62 sometimes. Um, Really looking to get balance and harmony in their practice as well as in their life. But they want freedom. They want to be able to do what I've done, is essentially be able to operate the practice from anywhere in the world. Um, and they want to build a phenomenal team that helps them do that. And then they want to be able to honestly be able to not have to worry about new patients again too, so that's what, when we work with MDs and OBs too, I mean, that's part of it too. I'd say that they're usually very family oriented. um, you know their families or faith, like religion sometimes is important to them. um, they're very committed. They're hardworking, but they just really love their families. Like a lot of them come to us because they want more time with family. They want more time with their kids. They want more time with their husbands, wives, whatever. So it's just like they come to us for those reasons. We've had people who've just started out, and then we have like multi-million-dollar practices too. So it's not really income based. It's because you can have a multi-million-dollar practice that has no systems or bad systems, or people are unhappy in in the practice. Um, the culture is toxic, whatever. So it's really the mark of a great practice is not actually revenue is part of it, of course, but it is systems. It is like how organized, how systematic it is, how consistent can we be without having to, um, just be able to have to reinvent the wheel over and over again.
What I gather from everything is you help people find freedom.
Yeah, because I love freedom. I
Mhm.
love that, and I wanted that, and I know what it's like to have it, and I also know what it's like not to have it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very enlightening to hear you share like who your ideal prospect is and how you want to help them and what their values are. And that helps people understand like if they're the right fit for you. So I think it's really awesome that we're discussing these things. Um, and I know that you give a lot. Your time, your talent, your treasure. Those are the three things that people can actually give. And I know you do some mission work. I know that it's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
Let's share with people some of the things that you do and why you do that.
I wanna say I think because 'cause I've done this podcast with you before.
You have.
It's been I don't know what episode it was. It's been a really long time though. I think like 6 years, maybe 5, maybe when you're just starting it out.
6
And
years ago.
6 years ago, and 7 years ago, actually, so I've done lots of different mission trips. Before I was doing it as faculty with Palmer College of Chiropractic when they were doing mission trips. So I'd done Madagascar, I went to India, did a whole bunch of different things. But before I was even a chiropractor, I was working in Spanish Harlem. I've done work in rural Pakistan, just all over with healthcare. Um, but what's nearest and dearest to my heart is 7 years ago, I ended up being able to go on a mission trip with medical doctors that we're going to Jordan to work with Syrian refugees that have been escaping the war from there. And honestly, that trip just changed my whole life. It changed my mind, changed my heart, like all of these things. And I'm actually going back. I'm going back in 3 weeks. I'm so excited because it's an organization that really does not allow other professions. They really only bring on medical doctors or maybe nurses, possibly pharmacists. So I was the first chiropractor to ever have gone, and having made like inroads with the medical doctors was also pretty amazing. Because when I first got there, some of them were like, "Well, why would a chiropractor be on? Like, what are you going to be doing? Like, how are you going to help?" And your hat says expect miracles. Like I saw miracles in that time in my week in Jordan. Just amazing things. Kids that had witnessed war, that had PTSD, finally able to sleep, bedwetting ended, people that were in wheelchairs being able to walk. I mean, just all sorts of things, all sorts of different things. Um, and I'm really excited to go back because in that trip, not only were we able to heal so many people, and I saw 400 people in a week. We also went to different refugee camps and things like that. We worked in hospitals, but at the end of it all, the medical doctors were referring to me like I was the busiest doctor, the most popular doctor there, because all the medical doctors were referring to me, and they were referring to me for things like night terrors, bedwetting, like ear infection, I mean, all sorts of different things. So I thought that was so great because working with that many medical doctors and having them change their mind about chiropractic, it was a big win. It was a big win for chiropractic. And so from that point, I then really started working with medical doctors more. And then it just kind of got on this thing where I'm like, I really want the medical system to understand what chiropractic does and what we do as chiropractors and how we actually change people's lives. So then I started building out this MD and OB referral program. So that's kind of how I kind of came about it. My dad's also a medical doctor, so I've been around it my whole life too. And I know what they think and I know how they believe and how you've got to communicate with them. So, yeah.
Well, I tell people this all the time. If they knew what we know, they would do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times when we look into the looking glass or the optics that we look through, we first of all say, well, why don't they believe in chiropractic? And
Yeah.
they just haven't had the right introduction.
Yeah, they don't know, right? Like, I mean, there's a 12% utilization rate of chiropractic in the United States. There's 330 million people that live in this country, right? 88% of the people are going to the medical system. Like that's just what people know. That's what the system offers, right? That's just how they grew up. And when I speak, because I speak at lots of different events and conventions, and one of the biggest things was that I always say is that it's just like the rest of the people, they're going to the medical system, but that's what they know. That's what they grew up with. But now we have the opportunity to change people's lives so that we intercept that story. And now there's a new way of thinking in that family. Now we go to the chiropractor. Let's go to the chiropractor first. Let's try that. Instead of just like, oh, where's the Advil? Mama, I have a headache. Like, where's the Advil? It goes from that to like, Mom, I have a headache. Like, I really want to go to the chiropractor. Or before even the headache comes up, Mom, I just feel like I need to get adjusted. Because that's the thing. Once you get adjusted, like, you know what it's like to not be in alignment. You know what it's not. Your body just, it doesn't have to be in pain. Your body just knows that it's time to get adjusted, and you just know, you get that feel. You're more in tune with your body. So that's what we give people with chiropractic care. We change their destiny. We change their story of their family. It's not just like, I'm adjusting this person and they're fine. Like, yeah, where a miracle is happening in that body every time, but it's also like changing the dynasty of that family. And that's what's exciting. That's what's exciting to me. So we've got to introduce chiropractic to as many people as possible.
Well, it goes beyond belief systems. It goes into epigenetic system. And
Hmm.
it goes into if we make an impact with this certain group of people, then they're going to have a different outlook on life because the environment that we create for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. It's going to be a different world that they live in as opposed to what their parents lived in. Or you could have everything just being continuing on the same way, right? I think you've seen my TED talk. Like it's on limiting beliefs in the subconscious mind. And it's really because like the same thing will keep happening over and over and over again until something shifts in our subconscious. And there's a new story that's written in the subconscious mind.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. I think that there's so much for people to find if they get connected to themselves better. And I honestly believe that that's why our intro is the way that it's positioned. We believe that when man or woman, the physical, when they get adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And like I said, it sounds sometimes like woo-woo to people, but until you realize like how subluxated your body is with disconnect, until you start getting corrected and adjusted regularly, you don't know what it's like to be connected to yourself.
Right.
And so many people are disconnected. And I jokingly say this, but I really mean it. Like if we were to go and adjust a C1 and C2 on all the leaders of the world, we would solve so many of the issues that are happening globally when it comes to the disconnect between cultures and countries and things of that. We would become a more connected group of people because they wouldn't have subluxation.
Right.
And they would be connected with the physical and the spiritual. And I think we'd clear up a lot of anger. We'd clear up a lot of limiting beliefs. We'd clear up a lot of disconnect. And I believe that the power of the adjustment, you don't have to speak the same language. You don't have to have health insurance. You don't have to, have any exchange of monetary exchange. The
Right.
power of the adjustment is so important in one person's life that it can affect millions of lives with when one person is clear.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
think that that's why I really wanted to touch on why the mission work and how you've been doing that, because when you start clearing up one of those Syrian kids that was bedwetting or having night terrors, now that could be the future. And it
And
is the future.
it's just that power of the adjustment too, right? It's like I saw these different people, but they were in like sympathetic dominance. And honestly, when I'm adjusting them, their body's just going, whew, and it's just going into that parasympathetic, and I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing,
Mhm.
like the impact we have. And I think sometimes chiropractors, we get burnt out because we don't realize like the impact of what we're doing. Like we start focusing on all the other things. We start focusing on so many things that is like outside of us. But if we just were so focused and committed and we're like, you know what, I'm going to help as many people as possible. It doesn't matter if my staff is leaving, if they're going, if they're coming, like this is happening, that's happening. Like I'm going to be so focused on my mission that I'm not external stresses are not going to affect me in that way. And it's those people that are just unshakable in their faith in chiropractic and like what we do as for patients that are the ones that I find to be the most successful too.
So let me reframe it this way, because I know that you love to network with the MDs and the OBs. If somebody was just coming out of chiropractic school, what advice would you give to them in order to start building this network with themselves?
Oh, I mean, I would say 100% they should start working with medical doctors right away. My biggest regret is that I just didn't do it sooner. I've been in practice for 17 years. I started this program about 7, 8 years ago, I want to say at this point. And it's like I just wish I'd done it from the very beginning. And I've been working with some like OBs from the very very beginning, but it was never like systematized, a methodical way, like formalized. It was just like, okay, like whatever. Even if people are starting to work with medical doctors or other providers, it needs to be really very focused and again systematized. It's got to be done in an appropriate way where they feel like the medical doctor doesn't feel like you're wanting something from them, or that they trust you, that they're willing to like send patients to you on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So I think that with medical doctors, I mean, I only wish I'd started sooner. That's why we actually give away that mini course for free, because you'll learn how to actually start working with medical doctors. Um, and it's cost prohibitive, right? So it's not like, cost is not like prohibition. Like, hey, you can just take it. For people that are here, they can take that mini course and not have to pay for it, because they're going to learn something that they're going to be able to implement right away. And I honestly, I just wish that more chiropractors would do it, especially working with OBs. I mean, OBGYNs, they need us more than ever, but chiropractors don't know how to approach them appropriately. So again, I'm like working to bridge that gap between the medical system and chiropractic. Because to me, it's selfish. Like, I want to increase the utilization rate of chiropractic. When I'm like a little old lady in a rocking chair, I want to look back on my life and be like, I have made an impact in this world. Like, I've changed some people's lives. And it's because I want more people to be under chiropractic care than medical care.
Well, I think it's a really honorable vision. And I think that's one of the reasons why we resonate so well together, because we do think big,
Yeah.
and we don't have limiting beliefs. And anything that we used to think was a limit to us, we've destroyed it and recreated new.
Hmm.
And I think that that's an important thing when you talked about subconscious earlier, is if we find out where we're stuck, we can destroy that and we can recreate new. And I
Yeah.
think that that's something that people need to really key in on if they're creating a practice. If they want to help more people, they have to really look at like who they are and get connected with themselves again before they can actually create a business or serve more people.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is. It's like our practice is a reflection of us. So if our practice is chaotic, that means we're in chaos.
Yeah, and
If
that
it's growing, it's because we're growing.
mm, that's a gut check,
Hmm.
because during my talk this past weekend, I said, after 5 years, chiropractors are like small businesses. 50% of them fail, and that's a direct reflection of not the education that they did get or didn't get. It's a direct reflection of their worth and their value. And if
Yeah.
they have enough value and worth, they succeed.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and they can't blame it on the system or the education. They have to create it themselves.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
And so it's like one of the things that I said, I spoke to the CAs over the weekend too, and I said, well, when we blame somebody, like we're blaming, oh, yeah, it's because of this, that person. There's three fingers that are pointing back at us. What is it that we need to do to like stop? Like, let's stop the blaming. What do we need to do things differently? What do we need to do to create what it is we do want instead of more of what we don't want? You know?
Solution oriented.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, if you guys want to learn how to create interprofessional relationships with MDs and OBs, go to www.ignite-spark.com/courses and put in the code Chiro. And
Yes.
I
Like
think
that.
that
It is like that specific.
I think there's a lot that people are going to be able to take away from working with you. I didn't even mention like all the accolades that you've had over your career of 17 years and being part of our first film, Chiropractic, the documentary. And we've been in each other's lives now for 8 years.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's been really cool to see you thrive and to expand and get married and
Yeah.
have all these amazing people that you're able to help. And just really an honor to see us reconnect on the road. And, I think that's just a testimony to both of us doing what we love
Yeah.
and helping more people, as you said earlier. And we're both mission driven. And
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you said, "Hey, I want to do an episode." And I said, "Hey, do it." And then my team was like, "Hey, somebody booked over the weekend." And I was like, "Yeah, somebody takes action. That's what I want." So, you know,
I mean, it's like as soon as you said, I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's get it done. And it was like the next availability was like till June or July. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it now. Like, let's do this. And that's, yeah, I mean, that's what's exciting about chiropractic. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean, chiropractic has given me such a sense of purpose and such a sense of like love for this profession and for all the people in it and for the work that we do, the incredible work that we do. And I'm so passionate about it. But it's like it's allowed me to do a lot of things that I would never have been able to do. I've been able to present at the White House, the United Nations. I've done a TED Talk that's crossed 500,000 views. I've been able to do a lot of leadership work, a lot of coaching work. I've traveled all around the world for chiropractic, able to go do this humanitarian work, in another country just with chiropractic. So I mean, it's like, I never want anyone to be burnt out with chiropractic because there's too many people that need us. But again, most chiropractors are not taught business in school, right? They're not taught business anywhere. They're just trying to do it based on gut, maybe decisions based on this or that, right? But there's no one that's like been ahead of you that's like coaching you and being like, hey, you know what? You can cut the learning curve. Like you don't have to do it this way. You can do this and this and this, and this will be perfect for you, right? So it's just like, I think that's the value too of like having someone who's already done it and been ahead of the game and has skinned their knees and has had just the most challenging, difficult things happen to in practice, and has learned from that. And it's like, nope, this is how you want to do it. This is exactly what you want to do. This is how you want to do it. And I think if people want to level up, I mean, I think they need to get coaching. I think they need to get someone to guide them to get there quicker. No.
Well, Dr. Irum, I appreciate you being on our show of episode 629 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. And is there anything that I didn't touch on that you'd like to talk to our audience today about?
No, but one of the things you'd said is I am very accessible. I think I believe in that because to me, people shouldn't suffer in silence, and not even suffering. It's like, hey, if I have a question about this, I want to know more about that. Like, how did you do this? Or how did you deal with this situation? One of the biggest things about me is that I'm very accessible. So I make time for people, whether it's just on my own time, it's my gift to the profession to be able to be that accessible. So that's one of the things that does set me apart. So if people want to contact me, I'm always on Instagram at Dr. Irum Tahir. They can text me. I mean, I'm happy to give my cell phone number. I don't know if we do this on this podcast or you offer that later, but text me. Like you have questions. I mean, just send me a message. Like I'm very accessible and I want to help you and I want to help you succeed. Whether it's maybe I just need to say something to you, give you a piece of advice. Oh, I'm really struggling with this. Why don't you try this and this? Oh, I didn't know that. Like I didn't think about that. Most of us, we're just like spinning our wheels, like boom, boom. Like, what do I do about this? What do I do? They have no one to bounce things off of, no one to talk to. So they're just trying their best. And that's where burnout happens. That's literally where burnout happens because they're spinning their wheels. But again, if you have mentorship, you have guidance, you have systems, that's what's going to give you the freedom. That's what's going to give you the joy in practice, and practice should be joyful. I mean, this is an amazing profession. I was meant to go to medical school. Like I would be in the ER right now if I wasn't intercepted by chiropractic. I'd be, giving someone an IV right now. I'd be in the hospital 24/7, never see my family, never see my kids, like, just working nonstop. That would be my life right now. But chiropractic, it gives me freedom because in our practice, we can do things the way we want to. And that's the art of practice, right? So that's the best thing about chiropractic. Like I think every person should be successful in chiropractic as long as we have the tools.
Well, Dr. Irum, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing your story and your passion and your drive to help more people, including helping the chiropractors. And I think that if anybody's curious, it's 315-406-1915. Send her a text, connect, let her be your guiding light, let her help you find your way. And I just think it's really, we had a powerful episode today, making impact, taking action, being present and focused and thinking big. And I just close out every time by telling everybody you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on next episode. Dr. Irum, thanks. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.